from our production company, and basically it's not available for the MLM contingent. They just have the wands with the blue light. So this is something that's really different. It's something that's really cool. You can switch from blue light to red light with your core box, and that's something that's really, really cool. All right, so let's go ahead, and now that we're live streaming, come back here so we can see this in nice big and bold. And then we're going to talk about the red light. So what is it about red light? Now, some of you may have seen the red light boards. There are boards that are filled with red light. There's also different, you could just put it on your face. They have ones you can put on your face. They have ones you can put on your head, on your scalp. So red light is being used a lot. And this is the age of light and frequency. We're going to be discovering and embracing many more technologies based on frequency and light. It's such an exciting time to be alive. It's such a revolution. It's something that's really, really cool. So all these waves have an impact on us. We're absorbing the light. We're benefiting from the light. And we're very much sensitive to different types of light. We know that people have a lot of difficulty if they have to work at night and then sleep during the day, because we're so connected to the light of the sun. That triggers our circadian rhythm. So that when you're sleeping, you want to sleep in the darkest room that you can. And when it's time to wake up, you want to make sure you get all the blinds raised and let all that light in, because that light is going to wake you up and help your circadian rhythm and help you to produce lots of cortisol and produce any number of other hormones. So in natural daylight, there is some red light, but you can utilize red light. Red light is not necessarily stimulating. You can actually use red light before bedtime in order to power up your mitochondria for the next day. So you're sort of adding energy to them, and they're going to do their thing overnight. You can still get into a very deep state of sleep, very deep state of relaxation. So it's the blue light, and not the one from the terahertz, but more like blue light when you look at your device or you look at your computer. That type of blue light, the blue ray, the blue wavelength that comes through in daylight. And we're very sensitive to that. And of course, that's not something that you want to be looking at before you're going to sleep. That's why naturally we're very sensitive to when the sun sets. That in ancient times, that was the time that people went to bed because nothing else they could do, time to go to sleep. And so we're still very connected to that primal part of us. And we're sensitive to all types of light. So it turns out that let's just go to this. There are 5 types of bioactive light. Okay, there's blue light, which is basically part of the brightest part of that, what you're seeing during the day. And they've unfortunately or fortunately used a lot of this blue light wave in things like desktop computers and your phone. And so if you're looking at those after the sun has gone down, it is going to disrupt your circadian rhythm and disrupt your natural production of melatonin. So you have to be careful. So that's why they have these glasses that are blue light blockers. You want to wear those, or you can get different filters for your screen in order to filter out that blue light. And that's very important. On Apple devices, and I believe now they have it on Android devices, you can use what's called night shift. And so this night shift will help you to have the sort of a more orange type of light after the sun goes down in your time zone, and then it will switch naturally off in the morning, depending on how you use the timer. Now you actually, on my phone, I always have night shift on except for 1 minute in 24 hours, because I'm concerned that that LED, sort of that blue light band, may be too powerful for my eyes. So our eyes are very sensitive to light. Our skin, not necessarily that type of blue light, but even with our eyes closed, our body is perceiving some type of light, believe it or not. So that's why you could be sleeping and all of a sudden the sun comes up and you get stimulated. Well, your eyes weren't open, but you can almost feel that the sun has come up. So that's blue light, sets a circadian rhythm, and it's really related to all these different neurotransmitters. So when the sun is not very present in the wintertime, that's how people get seasonal affective disorder. That's how their mood is really affected. Of course, we're really affected by that in the Pacific Northwest. But the reason that we don't feel good is because it's so related to our production of neurotransmitters. This blue light is very important. There's also UV light. So you all know about ultraviolet light, and people try to block UV light by putting on, suntan lotion and things like that. But we need UV light because it helps us to synthesize vitamin D. So vitamin D is not just a supplement, it's something we get naturally from sunlight. And that's why sunlight is so beneficial. And when we can get the proper amount of sunlight at the proper time, it will affect our skin. It will cause the skin to begin to be a factory for producing the right amount of vitamin D. What does vitamin D do in our body? It helps us to produce a lot. It's really related to overall health and wellness. Of course, it helps us to have healthy bones. It helps us to have healthy mood. It affects our immune system. There's so many studies that came out that indicated that the things that starts with the C and then there's an O, and you know what I'm talking about, that we had the whole couple of years, you know what I'm saying? Wink, wink, nod, nod. That entire thing probably could have been prevented if everybody had gotten proper levels of vitamin D. It probably could have been over in a very short amount of time because of how much vitamin D activates our immune system. And so many other things in our body are connected to, hormonal production. There's so many things, good mood, all these things are connected to vitamin D levels. Then there's far infrared. So far infrared is similar to, you've got usually an FIR, far infrared sauna. So when you get in that sauna, it's generating that type of waveform, that type of frequency, that type of light, and that can help you with cell function. If you go into a far infrared sauna, you're instantly going to feel more relaxed. Part of it is the heat, part of it is the generation of the frequency. And also very, very good for circulation. So excellent for anybody who has cardiovascular issues. It can help to condition the heart. You can be in a far infrared sauna. It's a combination of the heat and the actual far infrared energy. That can cause you to actually, it can lead to fat reduction. Like it can actually cause you to melt fat when you get up to a certain temperature. And far infrared really relaxes the body, boosts the immune system. But anyway, there's 5 types of bioactive light, and they're all really in sunlight. So all of these are in the natural sunlight that we're exposed to. So if you didn't want to do anything, you could at least go out in the sun and get this benefit. Then red light specifically, that red light acts on the mitochondria, and the mitochondria is the powerhouse of our cell. So the mitochondria literally makes the energy. If we didn't have energy in our body, our heart could not beat. This isn't like, oh, I feel good, I have energy like a cup of coffee. This is like energy just to make biochemical things happen to your body, in your body. So you wouldn't be able to have the beating of your heart. You wouldn't be able to think anything. Your liver couldn't detoxify anything. You couldn't digest anything. So you constantly need a steady flow of energy. And of course, you need glucose to convert to energy. So that's like taking oil, unrefined oil, and turning it into the gasoline that you pump into your car. So that's what the mitochondria does. So the mitochondria is this factory that turns that glucose into usable energy for all of your body functions. But a lot of people who have some type of illness or have some type of autoimmune disease, they have something called mitochondrial dysfunction. The mitochondria does not work as well as it really should in the body. And as a result, people have chronic fatigue. They don't feel good. Their immune system isn't as strong, and it slows their metabolism. So it's easy to gain weight. If you have a really good functioning mitochondria, which you have mitochondria everywhere in the body and a lot of mitochondria in the heart. But if you have good functioning mitochondria, then you have a strong metabolism. And so red light really helps with that mitochondrial function, which is exciting. You know, in naturopathic school, we would have all types of supplements. One was called like mitochondrial resuscitate and all these B vitamins, and it had all of this magnesium, and all of those things are really important, malic acid, for the functioning of the mitochondria. But remember that Jerry Tennant said that we're electrical way before we're chemical. And so what a novel and interesting idea is to use light in order to resuscitate or revive the mitochondria. So red light. So the red light and the blue light on the terahertz is really, really powerful. And then we have NIR, near infrared. And if you ever see these boxes that have the red light, they usually have a switch on it where you can also run near infrared lights. This is another wavelength on another part of the spectrum, but it's very similar to the effects of red light. So if you have red light, you're going to be getting similar benefits than if you were also generating NIR or near infrared light. So these are the 5 types of bioactive light. The one we're talking about today is red light. So the first thing about red light to know is it appears from different studies to reduce inflammation in the body. What is inflammation in the body? Inflammation in the body is when you have pain, when maybe you feel bloated, when you have joint pain, when you have hip pain, when you have a headache. These are all signs that you have inflammation. What do people do to not have inflammation? The first thing that they do that they think is harmless is they take an anti-inflammatory. So they take an anti-inflammatory, Tylenol. So they take these things, and what happens? Magically, their pain goes away. Why? It's not necessarily a numbing. We're not taking like a drip of morphine. That just like completely numbs you and makes you unaware of the pain. But what they're called non-steroidal anti-inflammatory substances, these NSAIDs. And so with these non-steroidal anti-inflammatory substances, the Tylenol, the Advil, what they do is they actually change the biochemical pathways of the body. And so when you say like you have some type of reaction to something, let's say you have an inflammatory process in your body. Let's say that because of your hip, right, because of the arthritis in the hip, you have pain. The reason you have pain is because the grinding of the hip, because of the reduction of the joint space, that is going to create inflammation in the body. And this type of inflammation, which is supposed to protect you in some way, is produced by a biochemical pathway in the body, which produces something called prostaglandins. And this also happens when we run a fever. Why do we feel when we run a fever, the temperature gets high, but we also feel achy, right? And that's inflammation in the body. We're raising that temperature in order to fight off the pathogen. So we're going to raise the whole body temperature, but when we do, we feel inflamed in the body. Now, part of what causes that change in temperature and the pain in the body is that we're having more production of these prostaglandins. These are inflammatory substances, and this PGE2 production causes the expression of what we call COX-1 and COX-2. And so you may have heard that aspirin and Tylenol, that these are COX-2 inhibitors. They literally at a biochemical level inhibit the production of these inflammatory substances. So if you don't have the inflammation going on anymore, what do you feel? Oh, I feel better. I don't feel like I'm in pain anymore. The thing we have to remember is that when we're taking a substance like that, we could have side effects, but we could also be maybe switching something off that we really need to have switched on. In other words, we have to get to the root cause of what caused the inflammation in the first place. The studies show that when we have red light, it does act similar in this way to the inhibition of these prostaglandins, but it doesn't have the side effects. Now, we still should endeavor to get to the root cause of the pain, but for the moment, we're having a non-toxic way to feel relieved from this pain, which is very exciting. And then it does something called cytoprotection, which is really fascinating. When you run red light, it can actually protect your cells after being exposed to toxins. So you think about the toxic spill in Ohio, all of those people could benefit from getting some exposure 5-10 minutes to the red light, as they're also terahertzing, which terahertzing has its own benefits that of course we'll talk about and we've been talking about. But when you get exposed to toxins, it actually can protect your cells in the face of toxic exposure, which is just red light, just the effect of red light. So that's interesting. It's cytoprotective, it's cell protective. So that's pretty cool. And then proliferation. So it helps some cells to proliferate, or basically divide and produce in a healthy way. So it helps some cells like bone cells and cells that line the blood vessels to grow and replicate faster. So this means a higher level of functioning in your body. But think about bone density. So the bones, things that help your bones to be more dense are called osteoblasts. So it may even help with this proliferation of the osteoblast to help to keep your bone density nice and high. And protein synthesis. So when you're trying to heal something, maybe a fracture or an injury or surgery, you want to have good, healthy protein synthesis to repair the body. So this red light exposure seems to help with that. And it also stimulates cells to produce more proteins like collagen. We know collagen is great for the health of the skin. It's also been associated with improvements in cognitive function. So the more you get exposure with your terahertz, with using that red light, it can actually help even if there's been a brain injury. So it helps improve functioning after a traumatic brain injury. It sees improvement when somebody has Alzheimer's and some type of cognitive decline. You can see improvements when you're running that red light, even improvements in memory. And exposure to red light has helped people to produce something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. So BDNF is a really important substance for the wellness of your brain. So we can get high levels of BDNF from intense exercise, what they call high interval, HIIT, high interval intensity training, that type of thing. And so that's when you sprint really, really fast, then you take a break, and you sprint for 30 seconds, you really get the body moving, and you get the heart rate up. That apparently, that type of stress and strain produces these high levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Also, fasting. So intermittent fasting can help these levels of BDNF improve. Also, the exposure to red light. I think as we understand these things about red light, we start to understand why terahertzing is so powerful with that magic box. Because every time you're using the terahertz, which has amazing benefits in and of itself, you're combining it, and it's probably got a synergistic and even exponential effect of using the terahertz with the red light. Now let's quickly see, there was a couple of comments in here. Please put your questions. Thank you, Vinay. Thank you so much. How do I use the core box in conjunction with the terahertz library? Okay, Charles, we'll see if we can answer that right after we get done, which we're going to be done soon with this little mini lecture here. Can these slides be posted so we can review them? Absolutely excellent, fabulous information. Well, since you're so charming with your compliments, I guess it'll be hard to resist not posting those slides. So we'll definitely see what we can do. And thank you so much for asking for those. It's always good when you can present to your audience and you're trying to maybe do terahertz in your practice, how beneficial this can be. So I can understand why these would be important. Okay, so this actually might be the last slide. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, actually, it's good for nerve pain. So some people have the pain of shingles. If you get shingles, it's incredibly painful and uncomfortable. So that comes because the nerves are very irritated by the virus, varicella zoster. And so this can actually help with it. It can help with all types of pain, but nerve pain in particular. And we hear lots of people tell us all the time how they were in pain within a couple of sessions of using the terahertz at home. They felt so much better. And we hear this a lot from the spouses. that the husbands had really sore knees or they had an aching shoulder. And we've read a lot of those testimonials here on the weekly class about how powerful that is. They're just using it for a couple of times, whereas they were very skeptical and they probably wouldn't have continued, but they had such good results that they were like really blown away. And now every night, like after dinner, watching the ball game, they're there terahertzing because they got such great benefit. And the first really perceived benefit where people say, oh, this is working, is when pain is being reduced. It's one of the most important to kind of win people over, or they're just going to say, oh, nothing's happening, but when their pain goes down and you're really, really helping people. And pain medication is no fun. It can be really addictive. Certain types of pain medication has really severe side effects like kidney and liver side effects. So actually red light also helps to block the production of substance P. And substance P, you think, well, P for what? And actually when you have more substance P, you have more pain in your body. So interestingly enough, when you're exposed to red light, helps to reduce this production of substance P. So another reason why people might be having less pain when they're terahertzing and they're using the red light. And even helps for bone health, for the health of the tendons, which is something like your Achilles tendon that connects the muscle to the bone. So it helps with the tendons and helps to improve healing of wounds. So stimulates and accelerates the healing of numerous types of injuries. It helps with tendons, muscles, and ligaments. So tendons and ligaments are connective tissue, and these are very poorly vascularized areas. These poorly vascularized areas, it means not getting a lot of blood flow. And so anywhere, if you tear a ligament, if you have a sprain, if you pull a tendon, it tends to take a longer time for it to heal. Whereas if you pull a muscle, muscles are very well vascularized. They get a lot of blood flow that they need for healing. But it's not so in the connective tissue, not so in the tendon, not so in the ligament. But light can go into those spaces and bring healing to those spaces that do not get as much blood flow. And so that's a wonderful thing about light and about the terahertz that can help those areas where you may have had an injury to heal faster. So it improves production of growth factors, which is really cool, to assist in cellular repair. So growth factors are really important. It reminds you almost of the idea of stem cells, that it has a regenerative effect. So just the red light alone, not even just the terahertz. And remember, the terahertz box is the only thing that has the red light. So the blue light is very beneficial, but red light and the combination of even being able to turn off the red light and then on with the blue light and then alternate back and forth, that's even more, because there's a lot of benefits just to blue light. All right, so then we have hair. So there's been studies with light and hair regrowth. It actually will dilate the blood vessels in the scalp, so you get more oxygen, more flow, and it may slow the loss of hair, which is something that I know a lot of men are always trying to figure out, how can they slow the loss of hair. And so just getting that, taking that core box and running it around the hairline. And we saw so many pictures of people who had loss of hair, and then we see the hair starting to come in, or even thinning hair. And then we see the hair starting to come in stronger after using the terahertz. So that's really, really exciting. All right. And so I think we have one or two more slides here just to finish up. And it may slow the development of wrinkles. Again, part of the anti-aging is that positive impact on the mitochondria. It may help with cellulite. Boy, we should have talked a lot more about this, Benet. This is something people are interested in. So it may help to reduce the appearance of cellulite. Well, cellulite is really oxidative damage. It's like an oxidative damage to the fat. And it's really nice to be able to do something that maybe is going to help to repair that and help to bring the skin back to its normal tone. So I know a lot of people probably would love to try that. And then it helps to build up the collagen. So that's another thing that gives you that appearance, that beautiful young appearance, by acting on the collagen. So in a nutshell, it helps to reduce those visible signs of aging, which is what a lot of people want. A lot of people will pay a lot of money for that. So you're looking for anti-aging, make sure you run your terahertz. You could run it over the skin, run it over the face. Don't look directly into the eyes. Be careful about not heating up the eyes, but around the face, maybe around the neckline and underneath here. There's a lot of tooth infections. If you have any tooth infections or things from the jaw, can kind of seep down into this area here. And so it's great to run the terahertz right around these areas, even to ward off maybe infection or just the stagnation. Just because of gravity, things can stagnate here. So you know all about face yoga and all the things that you should do every day for face yoga. Well, your terahertzing can be part of your face yoga sessions that you do, your wellness sessions. So you could do some type of massage of your face, and then you can do all the terahertzing here and here, and even in the back here is great because you have the optic chiasm in the back of the head there. And so that's really great to get terahertzing there as well. And maybe that's going to help the vision by doing terahertzing at the back of the head because you have so much crossing of the optic chiasm and a lot of tissue related to vision in that occipital area. So there's so many creative things that you can do with your terahertz. And now somebody was asking about the terahertz frequency. So we're going to look at those. And that was some of the testimonials that we had. So we're just going to look at this on the reflector here. We're going to bring up a different session that we had done. Now, Benet, any thoughts about red light?
I think you've done an excellent job covering that whole spectrum of the red light. I learned a few things just from what you dug into with that. So I definitely think that that's a better situation. It's just an extra situation.
Well, when you're using your, I'm going to lean down here so I can plug in the charger here. But when you're using your terahertz, do you make sure to alternate between blue and red light when you're using that box?
I do alternate between the two, and thinking about it, I actually tend to favor more of the red.
Wow, just intuitive, huh?
It must be. I mean, I'm not even thinking about it, but I know I alternate some, but I also realize thinking about it now, I know that I do use the red light more over the blue.
Yeah, it must be just your gut must tell you to do that, but that would be really great for all the repair
Oh,
that
sure.
it can do. So
Absolutely.
it's very, very good for repairing injuries. And as we saw, you know, sort of giving you those growth factors and all those wonderful things. So it makes sense. You just sort of tapped into it. And when you're working on clients, do you alternate between the red and blue, or are you using just the wand? What's your typical practice?
I alternate. I mostly use the box.
Oh, good.
You know, when I'm doing it, since I got the box, obviously before the box, I'd always use the wand, but I tend to always use the box now. And yes, I do alternate between the red and the blue.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so very good. I love it. I love how you're using it in your practice. And so we have a question here. Do you think the terahertz will travel through the body if I can't use the core box on the head because of a VP shunt? Yeah, everywhere that you touch the body in some place, even if you use it on your little tiny toe, that is going to affect the entire body, right? When you, there's some saying something like when you water the roots of a tree, all of the branches benefit. So if you just watered like even one root, you know, the whole tree is going to benefit. So, and the body is so interconnected, and that light it's affecting one part of your body, but it is shifting every part of your body. So even if your little pinky just gets a little exposure to terahertz and the red light and the blue light, this is going to change your entire body. And that's very, very exciting. So you do not have to worry. The terahertz it's not that it travels. That's an interesting way of perceiving it. It's in our very sort of third dimensional way. But the instant that you take your terahertz and you're basically using it on your hand, it's changing your entire vibrational frequency. And it is affecting every organ and every tissue and every mitochondria. So that, you know, the cosmic giggle is maybe you just need to use it on your hand, you know, and just do this for 10 minutes because every other part of your being is being affected by it. Vinay, do you have more that you want to say about that?
Well, a lot of the people that I have seen, where I've, watched and listened to their, talks or whatever, literally they do a lot of the palms and they do the bottom of the feet. They just
Yeah.
blow the palms and just blow
Yeah.
the bottom of the feet.
No, that's wonderful. Of course, in the Premier Research Labs calls that the downloads. And the downloads carry a lot of energy for the entire body. And they have, oh, and of course, you have the convergence of all of the meridians on the hands and the feet. And so that's going to have a great effect too. But the downloads is sort of this area that if you would mud pack, they did a lot of mud packing in Premier Research. If you'd mud pack those downloads, your hands and your feet could change your whole body. But it's probably because if you look at any of the meridian charts, you have massive merging of the meridians onto the hands and the feet. So the tops of the feet, this side of the hand, right? Then the palm side, that could be life changing. If you're busy, I'd get up in the morning and just try doing the palms, the backs and the front, and then the top, and then underneath on the ball of the foot or the sole of the foot, and tell us what your experience is. That would be very, very interesting. Another fun thing to do would be to soak your feet in water, like maybe an Epsom salt bath, and then terahertz that water while you're soaking in it.
Yep.
Or even terahertzing it before and then terahertzing your body afterwards while your feet are soaking in it. Be careful not to drop your terahertz into the water. You see some of the blue light there, some of the red light. Okay. So yeah, definitely avoid the head, Deb, and then work on the whole body. You'll do great. In my own case, I see and feel, hey, Sophie, it's so good to have you here. I see and feel more benefit from the red. All right, well, she says I get more. Oh, wait, she has the blue light wand. I think you got that somewhere else, Sophie. But anyway, she says she likes the red light therapy. Well, thank you, Sophie. Thank you for contributing that and sharing your information about the red light. Which light may support lymph flow better? I'm gonna guess more of the red light is going to support the lymph flow. I think the terahertz frequency overall really helps with lymph flow because I think of the terahertz for reducing stagnation, for really opening things up and getting things moving. What do you think, Benet?
I would agree. I would have answered the same way. I feel that way too.
Okay, yeah, so it's the terahertz that really helps with that lymph flow. And check out our ebook. We'll put it in the description of the YouTube video. So go check out the YouTube video at Ariel Policano on my YouTube channel after we're done here. And we do have a little booklet that we're working on, and it has a chart in there of all the different lymphatic drainage points. Okay, fantastic. So we're probably going to get ready just to wrap up. We're going to keep these kind of short, 30 minutes or maybe 30 or 45. We had a lot to share today, but bring your questions. We'd love to hear your questions. We have a coupon that you can look at that's going to be good for the next 48 hours. So you can use the coupon, and the amount in the coupon is the amount of discount that you can get off your terahertz. Oh, a couple more minutes before we wrap up here. It would be great if they could make red light for the wand as well. Well, you're always thinking of good innovations, Sophie. I like your idea there. So before we wrap up, I do want to take the time because there was a question about the Terahertz library. So a lot of people have partaken of the Terahertz library, which is completely free. You can go to geniusbiofeedback.com to pick up that library. So question for you, Benet, have you used the library at all?
Yeah. We talked about that in last week's session.
Yeah.
Whatever comes up more in the red section, the bars, I'm not talking about the red light. For example, if more red light comes up in the acute red section, that would tend to tell me that, I should more dominantly use for that session more red light than blue. That's just one example. And I think that's where you confirmed and said that's kind of what your thinking was when you developed this library.
The idea of the library is to use it in conjunction with when you want to play this at the time that you're doing your terahertz session. So that's the idea, is that it works in harmony with what you're doing on terahertz, it's going to enhance it. So if we hit the quick balance here, and then we were terahertzing at the same time, that would have a great synergistic effect where we can enhance the effect of a terahertz session. So really improve it, increase it. So we're going to have a wonderful increased benefit from using the terahertz. And then we also start to understand what the effects may be happening from the terahertz work that we're doing. So here it says metabolic function optimized. Remember, we talked about the red light improving the functioning of the mitochondria. So that's going to be improved metabolic rate. And then we have blue light, red light, terahertz at a certain frequency, red light, terahertz, 7.0 wand energy. So it may even indicate which device, which type of terahertz we'd like to use. So this is indicating more like, oh, use the wand today. Then we have cell repair. We have terahertz at 8 terahertz. We have the cellular membrane health improving. So when you reduce stagnation, you start to get energy moving, you get that red light to affect the mitochondria. The health of the cell is really the health of the cell membrane, what the wrapping around the cell that allows certain things to come in, and it also gets rid of metabolic waste. And so when you're detoxing and you're becoming more healthy, the cellular membrane is becoming more healthy. And we can see that here. I'm gonna actually just stop the balancing so we can see this. And then we go down to the bottom here. What's blue? So blue is another communication of information. And so interesting, in blue is a lot of blue light. So we have terahertz wand energy. So this is saying use the 6.0 wand. Then we have blue light, red light, blue light. These are all the different wavelengths. So we can also entrain those different waves, which is just really fun. It's an addition, it's an added, it's something we can do to enhance our session. And then it says cellular regeneration, hyperthermia assisting. So that gives us confidence that that hyperthermia, that warmth using the warmer fan, is helping to assist our healing, is helping to improve our immune system. Cellular regeneration, terahertz, and blue light to lung 7. So in our booklet, we're going to have all these points. We're still getting that all set up. Blood quality and viscosity now optimized. So again, a large thing that happens in the body, especially for Western folks, is the stagnation in the body. When you have stagnation, then think of a beautiful river flowing. And now if something blocks the river, all of a sudden you get algae growing, things are not moving, bugs are coming, all of that kind of thing. And so blood quality and viscosity now optimized. It means we're removing stagnation. We're getting that river flowing again. And the heat and the terahertz and the blue and red light help to improve that blood quality and that viscosity so it can oxygenate the body, bring oxygen and nutrition around the body. Collagen health improving, red light, blue light, negative ion effects. So something we don't talk about is that both the wand and correct me if I'm wrong, the core box, the core box, they produce negative ions. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Yep.
Yeah, and negative ions are like what you want to walk on the bare earth and your body picks up the negative ions. Or if you ever notice after a rainstorm, how calm everything and fresh everything feels, that's from the negative ions. And you can produce those life-giving negative ions by using the terahertz, which is really a great benefit. There's so many interesting benefits to using the terahertz. And then on top of it, you get to utilize the different light forms. It just makes for a nice synergistic experience. And then of course, in the core box, which is such a cool innovation, they have this little port here and you can put sandalwood essential oil, peppermint essential oil, something that would be very calming to the body, anything that you like to use in your sessions. Lavender, you put a drop of that, and when you're running the terahertz, it begins to diffuse and it gives you another benefit. The aromatherapy, of course, the experience of entraining the frequency of essential oils, so you get all of that into your field. So many fun things that you can do with the terahertz. Okay, so blood better oxygenated, lymphatic drainage effects, all of these things. So you can run this on quick balance. That's the easiest way to do it. You could also add the reds and the blues from here into Progressive Insights. And of course, you can pull some of the items that are The greens that are maybe below 200, you can include those as well. Those you have to sort of grab one at a time. So we would grab those, and then we would go and we could add some of the blues that are above 600. So you can bring all of those into Progressive Insights. And of course, then you could sort of realign everything and see which sort of comes up at the highest level here. And let's see, so cell repair is the highest one. So that may be something then that the terahertz is helping you with. Terahertz at 9 hertz, blue light at 450, hyperthermia. So you want to get on that warmer setting on your terahertz, metabolic function, so on and so forth. So that's how we utilize it. So it may also reveal some of these Chinese medicine points that would be more beneficial for you to utilize. So that's another way that you could use it. Which points would be the most beneficial for me today to run the terahertz on? We'll get a chart of that for you to utilize, or you can just look them up online. All right, so do you use the library first before the terahertz? So you would just scan the library and then have it running on quick balance while you're doing your terahertz session. All right. Okay, now Patricia said, is blue and red in a sense using cold and heat therapy? They're not exactly cold and hot, but I know that that correlation between blue and red, blue being cool, red being hot, and they're not necessarily exactly like that with the light. So the blue light is not necessarily cooling, the red light is not necessarily heating, but they do have different qualities. And today we talked about the red light. In previous videos, we've talked about the blue light, and we will continue to educate. The blue light specifically seems to work on things like acne, psoriasis. It has another type of beneficial healing to the skin. So it has an affinity for skin, as the red light does too. And the blue light also seems to help with collagen. The blue light specifically seems to help in boosting the immune system. So that could be sort of a difference. It's a little bit hard to finally sort of wrap your arms around the difference between red light and blue light, but we are getting to it after several sessions of looking at the literature and studying some of the information about red and blue light, which is fun. And Benet says, I analyze the library first and see what comes up, red and blue, and then I run the library along with blowing the terahertz. Absolutely, that's fantastic. I would think the use of an assessment library is to validate the selection of targets for the wand in phase 2 of a treatment with terahertz. Yeah, that's another thing we could certainly add to the library, sort of location of places. That's the idea with the Chinese medicine points as well. Okay. Any final thoughts, Benet?
No, I think this was an excellent dive deeper into both the red and the blue light and the differences. And of course, there's a difference between the wand and the box. The wand doesn't have the red light. So, it's something to think about, definitely.
If you want to get the terahertz library, you can go to geniusbiofeedback.com, put in the word terahertz in the search, and you'll see all of our terahertz products, but you also see the free library, so anybody can obtain that. Remember, we do have a wonderful coupon, so if anybody wants to get another terahertz or a package, or they want to share it now, we do have a 10% referral. So if you refer someone, you get 10% of whatever it is that they purchase. So if you have referred someone, just get in touch with us and let us know. We'll just send some cash to your PayPal to thank you for sharing the terahertz. And we actually had someone who had like 3 referrals in a row, and all these orders came in one day, and I was like, who is this? And then somebody emailed me and they're like, I sent this person, I sent Mary, and I sent Lisa, and I sent Susan. And I was like, okay, it's time to pay you. And we sent those funds to her PayPal. So really, really appreciate it. Actually, that's Davina, if you're watching, thank you. And I know there's been actually a request from our UK folks for maybe another more friendly time. So maybe we'll vary the time. We'll have to talk to Benet to see what her schedule is, but maybe we'll vary the time. But for next week, we'll be back at the same time. And again, go to geniusbiofeedback.com, learn more about the terahertz, see the description down below for all of the products, the coupons, and also our ebook, so you can learn more and experience terahertz yourself. Thank you so much, Benet.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks everybody who's been watching today. Have a great week and we'll see you again soon. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.